Welcome to the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham for this rather special edition of the Great Egg Race. Inside the vast Hall 6, 3 trembling teams are waiting to have today's problem revealed to them. But first, let me introduce my guest judge, Ken Wallace. Ken will be known to many of you as the world's principal proponent of autogyros. He has a distinction of having lifted themselves higher and further on less hardware than anybody else. He's also functioned as James Bond in You Only Live Twice, flying a tiny autogyro with a sparkling display of fireworks. Ken, tell me something about your rather special brand of fly.
Well, it's probably the smallest aircraft that is thoroughly practical. We do have a short film of it just to show you what it looks like.
Flying, or at least levitation, is really at the nub of today's problem. This is why we are using the great height of Hall 6 instead of the normal studio. Let's now go inside to allow the teams to introduce themselves.
Good evening, my name is David Blake. My colleagues are Peter Williams and Richard Berry, and we are from the Ministry of Defence's Proof and Experimental Establishment at Shoebury-Ness near Southend-on-Sea, where we design and develop electronic instrumentation.
Good evening, my name is Alan Robbins and with me is Bob Baxter and Wally Ancliffe. We represent Halter Whiting Design Engineering and we specialise in body, engineering and structure.
The team's from British Caledonian Airways and consists of Dave Lord, John Hurrell and myself, Steve Walker. And we're involved in the design, operation and maintenance of British Caledonian's aircraft.
Well, it's certainly warmer inside here. Our problem today is an exercise in levitation, hopefully with its customary seasoning of levity. The task which we set the teams is to construct a device which will lift itself into the air under its own power, starting from ground level. We will award marks on a combination of the actual flight time achieved and the weight which has been lifted. And we'll have a lower cutoff to discourage very light machines or very short flight times. How does this grab you?
Very interesting.
Yes. I think you can do it?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
But get levitating.
Right.
Thank you.
Got all the stuff we need.
That's great. Isn't it? That's great. We couldn't have asked better, could we? There isn't a load involved, is there?
No, it's
if assuming it's not too light.
That's right. We've got to go above 10 grams.
Where's it say that?
Down the bottom. We don't want to go below 10.
Now this is where you ought to say, right, you ought to start writing planning.
Okay.
The limitations.
Hang on.
It's got to be more than 10 grams.
Right.
You can make a tissue covered balloon. You use the tissue as an envelope.
What about well, can't you just use the cling film on its own?
No, cling film on its own, you'll get problems with the heat on the cling film that it'll shrink.
I see. Okay.
So you need the greaseproof paper to keep the right sort of tension on it.
We can have the cling film plus the greaseproof.
That's right, yeah.
And then seams, we can use the
drafting
tape.
Drafting tape, but drafting tape's heavy.
Yeah.
You can actually, in actual fact, you can utilise the glues that we've got, the instant glues, as long as you make a decent seam along there.
What heating are you going to use?
Well, we've got a Bunsen burner.
Yeah, but this is all going to catch fire.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
No, you better do that. Because you're the
basic aeroplane.
Okay.
So we've got over a wing and a tail.
Yes.
Okay. Some form of guidance. That we've got a choice of either flat or a curve to get a better efficiency.
Yes. That surely is if
that's the best that we may have to accept.
Yes.
That gives us our stability.
Okay.
For up and down. We've got to get the balance right as well.
Yes.
We want a CG. Yes. The one thing that occurs to me looking at our bits, we've got tubes over there.
Yes.
If we've got two cans, one on each end of the tube, that one, both of them fixed so they can't rotate, with the elastic band down the tube between them to whatever we have on there.
You've got some hooks and pulleys and stuff, yes?
We've got bits of wire.
Yes.
If we can work out some way of making a prop for the front,
Yes.
then the elastic band down there.
Ken, let's briefly examine the options which are available to the teams. How would you tackle it?
Well, like being a heavier than airman, I would tackle it with, I think, an aeroplane.
You feel that if they've got the bits and pieces to make an airplane?
They have wood behind us. The wood, there's elastic to power the propeller or to catapult the aircraft. I think all the materials are here. There's tissue paper or other materials to cover the plane.
Now, I'm probably lighter than an airman, full of hot air perhaps. And now they also seem to have the wherewithal for that, because they've got lots of tissue paper and they've got some fuel, which is really solid methylated spirits, which could be used to power this.
Yes, that's true. And after all, it's 200 years ago since the first aircraft flew, and that was the Montgolfier hot air balloon. So I think it's definitely the occasion for this.
How about a purely ballistic solution?
I think that's another possibility, yes.
And I suppose finally, so perhaps least probably, they could make a jet-propelled device. We have a sort of jet engine here, actually a detergent bottle. We have a bicycle pump. It could be pumped up to make a reaction
Yes,
engine.
there are many variations on that theme.
I wouldn't really recommend.
No, I think not.
Gentlemen, can I just interrupt your task of tissue tailoring for a moment? What are you actually doing?
Well, we're going to construct a hot air balloon. At the moment, what we are doing is cutting the segments.
Is that your cutting out diagram?
Yes, that's right. We had to calculate the approximate shape of the sections. And to get an onion shape, we've done some calculations, approximate calculations.
What's the merit of having an onion shape rather than a cylinder, which must be easier to make?
Cylinder, yes, but we believe the onion shape is more stable. And therefore we've got a pendulum action with the hot air, the greater lifting mass in the top surface.
And what sort of dimensions are you aiming for?
2 metre diameter.
So that's rather more than this whole distance. Really quite an appreciable size.
Yes, we need that to lift the weight that we've got on the gondola.
I'm doing a bit of quick mental arithmetic. That's about 4 cubic meters
Yes,
of hot air you're hoping.
That's correct.
How are you going to fuel it? Well, what's going to produce the hot air?
Well, we're going to fuel it with a small burner that we've manufactured.
Can just have a quick look at it?
Yes, certainly. This is the bottom of the balloon. This will create the neck.
There'll be more swings from here.
That's right. There will be a methylated spirit burner in the gondola itself, and the kitchen foil is to stop the balloon from catching fire.
A very important part, because
Yes,
you've only got one life.
Well, gentlemen, what's your solution to this problem?
Well, we're going to go standard, ordinary basic design.
Yes, I see. That's the
fuselage
part of the
section
wing.
here.
Yes,
Half wing section over there.
yes. Elastic power.
Elastic powered, yep, and because of the short takeoff, we're going to go for a ramp as
I
well,
see.
catapult
Yes,
ramp.
yes, I see. And there's a gentleman here making the propulsion system.
Yes.
His propeller making it.
Yeah. We had a few problems with materials, but the rest of it was fine.
Yes, oh well.
Is it? Right,
I think you're on the right track. And,
Yes, I hope so.
I wish you luck anyway.
They're still tacky there, mate. Don't touch the sink, John, will you?
Can you hold that?
There's a roller up there. John?
Is there?
Yeah. Huh?
I reckon that should do it. But 2 of those, very, very light.
Yeah.
But what about the area?
Oh, I think that's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you can even bend them to give the right angle quite easily.
I think I can guess what you're making. In that it looks like an aeroplane. Is it actually going to be a glider?
Well, if we can get it to glide, then we will try to fit a power unit on it of some kind, probably driven by a rubber band.
But you're not actually allowed to launch it by throwing in the air. So how will it take off?
We'll have a catapult type device to tension and then let go.
So we shoot it up in the air, and then you hope to fit some sort of an engine to it to keep it airborne.
We hope so. So we have more stored energy to...
Have you had a shot at making the engine?
Yes, we've produced one device, which
let me have a look at it.
It's down here. We have to make a new propeller for it because it doesn't give enough backdraft to provide enough.
But
force.
you've got a massive rubber band inside here, have you?
Yes, it's about an inch thick.
Can you just feel the weight of all this thing? Because it all looks to me very heavy. You're reasonably confident that you can actually lift this not inconsiderable mass into the air.
No, we're not confident, but if it doesn't work with this and a new propeller, we'll put perhaps just a rubber band on there with a simpler propeller on the front.
And hope that it'll be a circle, perhaps, rather than disappear over the horizon.
We can put a bit of twist on it, yeah. I doubt whether it'll disappear over the horizon.
When we were first brooding about this problem, we thought that in the best egg race edition, the flying machines really ought to be carrying an egg. But we did some sums, and we did some experiments, and we came to the conclusion that it really wasn't possible with the resources available. However, now we have a very much superior device which demonstrates that a flying machine of a small kind could carry an egg. On my horizon, the most beautiful but also very noisy radio-controlled flying machine has just appeared. It is actually a model helicopter approaching quite slowly under perfect control, and hopefully it's about to lay its egg. There, it's laid it swoops up again. In a moment it will land, and I'll be able to get closer to it. There, absolutely perfect landing. The engine is cut. What we see here is a radio control unit, which really has all the controls on it, which one would expect in a proper helicopter. So I understand it's very much more difficult to fly because one totally lacks, or the pilot totally lacks, the seats of the pants feeling which one would have in the real machine. There's an additional difficulty that when the model helicopter is flying towards you, the controls are effectively reversed. It's really rather like putting a tie on in a mirror, something which some people really find difficult. If we just look at the machine itself, I think to anybody who's got any real feeling for a beautifully put together mechanism, this would be the most marvelous possession to have. And I must confess, I myself would really rather lust after one of these. Now I think I should go back to my seat of judgment. Well, Ken, after this very impressive demonstration, let's see how the local talent are doing. It seems to me that one of the things which the red and the blue team have in common is that they have to make propellers.
Yes.
And this always struck me something pretty difficult. How would you tackle it?
Well, we're provided with some very light alloy material here. This is a small example. I would cut a shape something like that up, but possibly using two pieces and fastening them together, because they'll probably need a bigger propeller. But if you take a piece of light alloy like that, or even if you had plywood or so and you could steam it and bend it, then you put a bend in it, like that.
Just like that, with cunning fingers.
It comes out actually a theoretically correct pitch right along the blade, so that all parts of the blade move forward through the air at the same time, at the same distance through the air. So you end up with something like this, which you can make up on a bearing.
You used a bead of some kind?
Yes,
of bearing.
Yes, I used one of these pieces of chain as a sort of thrust bearing, and then of course there's a little bit of nickel elastic here, you see, which is also provided for us. We can wind that up, and we have a model.
Well, of course, I mean, that's very nice, but in their case, of course, they would have to make a very much bigger version.
Much bigger version, oh yes, yes.
I mean, what sort of size would you reckon?
I would have thought that they're going to have a propeller something like that sort of size. That's the thing. I think one of the propellers is actually on something of this sort of line.
Well, the yellow team, of course, are an entirely different process. That they have made themselves a large balloon, and I reckon that the volume of the balloon is about 4,000 liters.
Yes.
Well, very roughly speaking, 4,000 liters of air will weigh about 4,000 grams. And if they can manage to keep the air inside the balloon 30 degrees above the air outside the balloon,
Yes.
they get a lifting power of about a tenth of that amount.
Yes,
so they have a lift
400
of about 400 grams. Now the tissue paper we've given them weighs about 5 grams per sheet, and by careful interview I've discovered that they're going to use about 38 sheets.
Yes.
So there's about 190 or say 200 grams of paper in this.
Yes, probably a little bit less with the cutaway, but then with the sticking a bit more
Sticking
again.
it
Yes,
into
they were balancing out. Yes.
So it would appear that they have about 200 grams left for their fuel and their payload in general, their fuel. And it looks to me if it's just about possible.
No, that end's got to go down. And Wally can feed the air in, and as this builds up...
Where do you
Wally,
want...
would you mind just trying this out?
Trying what out? This?
Yes. So see if you can get that...
Other way round.
Other way round.
Other way round.
No, Wal. No.
What way?
Like that.
That was the way I was...
No, you didn't. You had that... That's got to point down.
Okay, yeah.
So we can...
We can do that, can't we?
Yes. Okay, shall we try and...
I think we should try inflating it.
Right.
It's going to be just within the area, I think. We'll put, to keep it nose down a bit, we'll put a skid on the back, because we were 1.81 seconds then.
Oh, yeah. That's going to have to be... What? What do you want?
Ah, the tail's come off, John.
Oh, crikey. This blue's not going off, is it?
Do you want some more Araldite? Some different stuff?
No, we'll have to make do with what we got now. Let's just...
But it's not going off.
How about popping something through it, like fuse wire? Huh? No? You don't want to try another Araldite? No? Okay.
We'll have to try this again, John. I don't know what's up with it.
That's done.
We've got it on there, mate.
You will have noticed that there are two attempts, and I don't call them more than attempts at the moment, to build aeroplanes, and one rather ambitious attempt to make a hot air balloon. I thought it might be rather fun if we tried to make a rather simple hot air balloon. I wonder if I might have two tall, sturdy members of the audience to give me a hand. Would you like to come forward? Now what we've got, and this is really quite unfair, is that we've got some ordinary black dustbin liners made of the lightest plastic which we could find. So we tie our balloon to this. And I suggest that one of you holds the dustbin liner and tries to hold it open at the bottom. And most unfairly, we've got a hairdryer, which is, of course, apart from myself, a copious supply of hot air. Now, if you put this on, you might like to manipulate the hairdryer. See if you can fill the bag with hot air. I suggest you put it a bit lower down so that the actual aerodynamics are a bit better. When it's nice and warm, which it isn't yet, take your carrots in both hands and can you let your top end go? Well, that actually wasn't very impressive, but there's a good reason. There's a good reason for that. The top end of this balloon is really rather heavy. It's barely capable of lifting itself up. It turns over and spills out the hot air quite quickly, so it comes to rest again. Well, we've made another one, which isn't actually much better, but at least the design is more sensible because so that we have restricted the bottom end of the balloon by a cardboard ring, which adds, of course, to the weight of the system. And let's see if we can do any better with that. I think this probably won't fly, but it's at least it's a sounder design. See, it inflates very much better. Now, see if you can follow it to keep the air flowing into it. Well, it's still top heavy, What perhaps these rather unimpressive experiments have shown is that there are two problems which a hot air balloonist has to solve. One of them, of course, is to get the balloon big enough, because the scale factor is such that the actual amount of fabric which one uses to enclose the hot air, of course, decreases faster than the lift increases. So you have an advantage. The other one is to stop the hot air from spilling out of the bottom. Now we see in a moment whether one of the teams has solved these problems satisfactorily.
So, is there anything to be done now that I can do? No?
Whose turn is it to pray, yours or mine, Steve?
Mine. Yeah. What about the undercarriage?
I don't know where we're going to do it.
We haven't got one. So I'll have to make a hook to go round the front, just on the end of the wire, and hook onto the frame, all right? Just drag it up the slope. Okay.
I think you need to move off a bit as well, don't you, Bob?
Yeah,
try and keep the balloon.
You move back, Bob.
Oh, it is getting a bit hot up here, Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, move off a bit, please. Move off fractionally. Try and keep the balloon.
Yeah, you got a pleat here, Bob.
That's it.
You can go back quite a bit.
Wally, you're coming in towards me a bit. That's it. Keep it like so.
It goes. How's the tube standing up? Al?
Tube's all right. It's getting quite nice and warm, and it's coming out the end quite nicely too. But it's only just a trickle. It's a very small trickle of heat.
Whoa.
Can you get any more thrust off the burning?
And that's it. That's maximum power.
Well, gentlemen, as you see, the time is up, and it's now time for us to get on with our first flight test after our construction.
Now for this serious business of scoring. I said earlier on that we would score both on the basis of weight and flight time. Now the basis on which the marks will be calculated is that we will divide the weight of the aircraft or balloon or whatever it may be by 100 and multiply this figure by the flight time in seconds. And to add it to that, of course, will be a mark at the judge's discretion for beauty, impudence, and anything else which we believe to be appropriate. Now, Ken, would you like to come and join me? Let's get ourselves ready to start the first team off. That's MOD Schubrines. Any quick comment on the aircraft?
Well, they've obviously gone for a catapult-launched glider, which is probably quite a good way of doing it. I hope there's enough room for them.
Well, they weigh 800 grams, so they are the heaviest of the aircraft. It's distinctly heavier than air, isn't it? And I'm going to try and time it for the total time it's going to be in the air.
Are you ready?
Any time you like. Right, 4 seconds.
Okay.
Not bad. So on that basis, in terms of performance, you score 4 times 8, because you weighed 800 grams. That's a total of 32 marks. But of course, there's something extra to come in due course. Our next team of contestants, as a blue team from British Caledonian, was a rather sophisticated aeroplane. Would you like to come along, gentlemen? Now, Ken, what's your comment on this?
Well, this time we have a powered aeroplane. They're really up to date and going to the ski jump takeoff, rather like the Harrier.
But you've still got a catapult as well, haven't you?
Yes. They have all the facilities that one has on a modern deck.
So they're going to have a catapult launch,
and then
they have an engine.
That's right, sustained flight by the elastic power.
Now, I hope that they've made some arrangements to circle, otherwise they're going to run out of power.
Well, the rudder has an offset on it, and we're going to find out very quickly whether everything's
And do you think it's likely that the engine will start sufficiently fast to take over from where the catapult takes
off? Yes,
I
would think it has every likelihood. And it should have quite a long running time, but there's a question of whether it hits anything first.
Are you ready,
But
tell me when you're prepared, so I can poise my finger.
Do you want? Is it enough? Lift the tail.
That was only about a second and a half.
Okay.
Now, on the basis of having an aeroplane which only weighs 200 grams and 1.5 seconds, dividing the weight by 100, that only gives you 3 marks. I think you've been a bit unfortunate. Your catapult isn't really strong enough. No. But I would very much like to see how well your aeroplane would fly if it's hand-launched. It won't, of course, earn you any mark, but I think you put so much effort into this, and it looks really rather nice plane. Let's see if it will fly. Oh, beautiful.
Yes, very good.
Now for our only lighter-than-air entry. The yellow team from Hortel Whiting. Right, now in your own time, I notice you've chosen not to have any fuel actually inside the device. You've just put a coin into it.
A 10p piece.
A 10p, I see. Is there any particular significance, or merely to give some weight?
That's weight, that's all.
I see. All right. Okay. Well, whenever you want to let go, feel free to do so.
Yeah, let go.
All right. Already got to 5 seconds. Now there's no fuel at all in the balloon itself, so it's rising entirely on its stored hot air.
Well, move that one.
And it's about to hit the ground now. At 28 seconds. Well done, Hortel Whiting. And of course, calculating the marks on the same basis, for a balloon which weighed 300 grams and which stayed aloft for 28 seconds, you score 84 marks. Ken's now had an opportunity to bring his aeronautical judgment to bear on the issue. Ken, let us first consider the MOD team from Shoeburyness, that is the red team.
Yes, well, I think that they deserve 10 marks for having tried to do it with a glider. No power to keep it up after it's been launched by a catapult.
Well, this together with the 32 marks which they scored previously gives them a total of 42. Next, the blue team from British Caledonian with their lightweight aeroplane.
Well, I think they made a very elegant design, and I think it was very unfortunate for them that their catapult system didn't work as well as it should have done, and I would award them 20.
So you've decided really to reward them rather highly for their courage.
So yes. It was a super little model, but unfortunately it didn't have a chance to prove itself particularly.
Well, this together with the 3 marks they scored previously gives them a total of 23. And last, we have the yellow team from Hortel Whiting.
Yes, well now, of course, they chose a system that has 120 years start on our other two teams, but they made a very elegant, beautiful balloon, and I think 15 marks extra.
And those 15 marks, together with the 84 they had scored previously, give them the magnificent total of 99. And this makes Hortel Whiting, the hot air balloon fiends, the winner of this episode of the Great Egg Race. Good night.